You've done enough, Douglas. That's what my brother said the day I retired. And by enough, he meant I was no longer useful. December 31st. Most people celebrate New Year's Eve with champagne, countdowns, resolutions. Me? I spent it alone in a house I paid off for someone else. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening in the comments. 40 years as a prosecutor. I've put murderers behind bars, dismantled criminal empires, argued before state supreme courts. I've made governors shake. And yet, the people I protected most? My own family? They couldn't be bothered to return a phone call. My retirement dinner was scheduled for 7 p.m. Formal dress. Black tie. Full honors. Only one seat was empty at my table, every single one of theirs. No Brian. No Tara. Not even Holly, my own daughter. It would have been easier if I hadn't done so much for them. Brian, my brother, I covered up that drunk driving mess when he crashed into that stoplight back in '09. Saved his career. He still owns that car dealership because of me. Tara, my ex-wife, I pulled strings when her boyfriend got caught smuggling prescription pills. She never thanked me. Just kept cashing the support checks. And Holly. God. She's my daughter. But she started calling Gregory Dad the moment he moved in. I thought maybe they forgot. I thought maybe there was traffic. I checked my phone like an idiot every 5 minutes. Nothing. No text. No call. No congrats, no thank you. When the clock struck midnight, and the applause echoed through the hall, I stood there clapping for everyone else, while my own legacy sat buried under silence. That's when something inside me snapped. I wasn't angry. Not the kind you shout about. Not the kind that throws glasses or burns bridges. This was cold. Calculated. Final. I'd spent 4 decades exposing liars, cheaters, and manipulators. But I'd never turned that spotlight inward on the people who took my name, my power, and my protection for granted. Until now. So I started watching. Quietly. I opened files. Pulled favors. Dug into every vacation, every bank transfer, every phone call I helped cover over the years. Jeffrey, my sister's kid, had 3 sealed juvie records I'd buried personally. Amber, my niece? She's been living rent-free in a condo listed under my name. And Kimberly? She forged documents once to get her son into a private school. Guess who made it go away? Me. I wasn't going to scream or fight. I was going to document. Like a prosecutor. Because when the truth hits hardest, it isn't in court. It's at the dinner table. And on January 1st, while everyone else was nursing hangovers and chasing resolutions, I sent out invitations. Handwritten. Classy. Formal. To my dearest family, they read. Please join me for a private New Year's brunch. No lawyers. No press. Just truth. They all accepted. Of course they did. They smelled money. But they had no idea what they were walking into. Because I wasn't preparing eggs and coffee. I was preparing evidence. And by the time they finished their mimosas, they'd be choking on everything they thought they got away with. I made waffles. Real ones. Buttermilk. Light, crisp, golden. Not because I cared about presentation, but because distraction works better when it smells like comfort. The morning of January 1st, my dining room looked like something out of a lifestyle magazine. Crystal glasses. Silverware polished like mirrors. Linen napkins folded like origami. I even set out place cards. Amber. Kimberly. Holly. Brian. Tara. Gregory. Jeffrey. All the names I'd written 100 times over in case files, checks, and court memos. They thought they were coming to celebrate my retirement. Maybe secure some inheritance. Maybe warm up the old man for one more favor. What they were really walking into. A legal autopsy. By 10 a.m., the first knock landed. It was Kimberly, smiling, overdressed, holding a bottle of cheap champagne like it could erase 15 years of silence. "Douglas. You look amazing." I smiled. "So do you. Come in." The others followed, one by one. Each armed with smiles too wide, voices too sweet. Even Tara showed up in pearls. It was all so rehearsed. By 10:30, they were seated. Toasts made. Mimosas flowing. I let them talk. Kimberly bragged about her son's scholarship. Brian went on about his dealership's best year ever. Holly talked about planning her wedding, no mention of me giving her the down payment for that engagement ring she picked out herself. I nodded. Smiled. Took notes in my mind. Then I stood. "Before we eat," I said, "I want to show you something." The room quieted. I pulled out a stack of folders. One by one, I placed them on the table. Each labeled. Precise. Intimidating in their plainness. "What's this?" Tara asked, frowning. "Memory lane," I said. They glanced at one another, unease rippling across their champagne bubbles. "I spent 40 years putting criminals behind bars," I continued. "But some of the most elaborate cover-ups happened under my own roof." Brian laughed nervously. "Come on, Doug, this isn't necessary." "Brian," I said calmly, "how long do you think a sealed DUI stays buried?" His face drained. Amber put her glass down. "I'm not here to yell," I said. "I'm here to clarify. While I still have the voice to do it." I opened the first folder. Kimberly's name was on it. Inside? Copies of the forged application she used to enroll her son in a private school using falsified income statements and a doctored address. "I never submitted those," she said quickly. "That's not my dash." "Kimberly," I said, "I was the one who intercepted it before it hit the verification office. I have the originals." Silence. Cold. Heavy. Holly shifted in her seat. "Dad," she said softly, "is this really what you want to do?" I met her eyes. "No. It's what I have to do. You all asked me to carry the weight. You forgot what it does to a man's spine." I reached for the next folder. Tara's. But before I could open it, Brian slammed his glass down. "You really want to ruin your family over this?" he growled. "Then you'd better be ready for what we know about you." Brian's voice hit the room like a dropped gavel. "You want to play prosecutor, Doug?" he snapped. "Then you'd better be ready to sit on our witness stand." I didn't flinch. "Be my guest," I said calmly, sliding Tara's folder aside. "I've got nowhere to be but honest." Kimberly leaned forward. "You think you're so clean? You used your position to cover things. That's corruption too." I nodded. "Correct. It is. And I kept receipts. Every favor I pulled. Logged. Timestamped. Including who asked for it, and why." Amber looked pale now. You wrote everything down? Every phone call. Every backroom fix. Every case I was pushed to forget." Tara finally spoke. "So this is revenge?" "No," I replied. "It's accounting." Brian smirked. "You really think you're untouchable just because you saved some PDFs? Please." He pulled out his phone and tapped something. A moment later, Holly's phone buzzed. She looked down. Then paled. "Brian," she whispered, "you didn't." "Oh, I did," he said. "He wants to play truth? Fine. Let's remind him of his." He turned to me. "Remember District Attorney Marshall? The old bastard who got pushed out back in '04. You were the one who buried the harassment case against him. That made you complicit, Doug." I raised an eyebrow. "Interesting memory," I said. "And yet, You're missing the detail where I opened a federal file on Marshall a year later under a sealed identity and handed it to Internal Affairs. That's why he vanished quietly instead of being dragged out. Brian blinked. I pulled out another folder, thinner, black. Signed affidavit, I said. Filed last year when I started preparing this moment. Just in case you got creative. Holly stared at me. You knew they'd try to fight back. I hope they would, I said. Because that's what guilty people do. Kimberly stood up. This is insane. No, I said, this is structure. I gave you all a scaffold. You built a ladder to climb over me. And now you're shocked that the ground is shifting. I turned back to Tara's folder. Open it. Inside? Printed bank transfers. Tara's boyfriend, the one caught with smuggled pills? The funds that paid off his legal team came directly from a community housing grant. A grant that mysteriously vanished 6 months later. Tara gasped. You said that was handled. It was. Quietly. But that money was meant for veterans. She stood up. I needed that help. And a dozen homeless men needed roofs. But I guess that's not your problem. The room was silent. Until Holly stood up. Her voice shook. Stop. Stop all of this. I met her eyes. For a moment, I saw the little girl who once begged me to buy her a plastic tiara at a gas station. Now she looked like a stranger in pearls. You want me to stop? I asked. She nodded. Yes. Please. We made mistakes, but this is nuclear. I agree, I said. But you pressed the button. And then Jeffrey, quiet, anxious Jeffrey, finally spoke. His voice barely above a whisper. Uncle Doug, what happens if you go public with all this? Jeffrey's question hung in the air like a slow-moving guillotine. What happens if you go public with all this? Everyone froze. No more forks clinking. No more fake laughter. Just silence, and the sudden weight of consequences. I looked at him, the youngest of them all, still clinging to the hope that this was just an awkward brunch and not the prelude to disaster. If I go public, I said, charges get filed. Investigations start. Reputations die. Jobs are lost. Maybe even homes. But what truly happens is this dash. I held up a small digital recorder. The truth finally gets a voice. Amber's lip trembled. You recorded this? Of course I did, I said. I record everything now. Just like I did in court. You think memory is enough? Memory fades. But digital evidence? I tapped the device. It endures. Brian stood. You're bluffing. That recorder wouldn't hold half of what you claim to have. I smiled. This is just today's brunch. The rest is backed up. Multiple drives. Secure locations. Distributed across 4 states. Kimberly whispered, Why would you go that far? Because I loved you all, I said. Too much. For too long. And I thought protecting you was the same as helping you. But it wasn't. It just delayed the reckoning. Tara slammed her napkin on the table. So this is your big revenge fantasy? Humiliate us? Burn us down? No, I said. This is your moment of choice. I stood. Walked slowly around the table. You can walk out of here right now and pretend none of this happened. But the files still exist. The truth still lives. And it will be used if necessary. Or... I paused at Holly's chair. She wouldn't meet my eyes. You can stay. Sit. And we can talk about redemption. About restitution. About what it means to earn a second chance instead of stealing it. Brian scoffed. You think you're the moral compass of this family? No, I said. But I am the one who kept everyone else from going to prison. That shut him up. I looked at Holly. What about you? You always asked for honesty, even when you hated it. You're smart enough to know how this ends if we let it spiral. Her voice was almost inaudible. You'd really go through with it? I didn't spend my life putting criminals away just to turn coward when the crime came home. A long pause. Then Holly did something no one expected. She reached for her folder. Slowly. Hands shaking. And opened it. I want to know, she said softly. All of it. What I cost you. What you covered. I want to know the damage. Alicia gasped. Kimberly stood frozen. Brian just stared. But that single act opening that folder was the first honest move in years. I nodded. You'll find the real engagement ring receipt in there, I said. And the documentation showing how Gregory's business loan was denied until I made one call and co-signed it myself. She flipped the pages. Her eyes started to water. But before anyone could speak, Curtis, my old colleague from the DA's office, stepped into the room, pale and breathless. Doug, he said, I just got a call. Someone leaked part of your files online. Curtis's words hit harder than any punch I'd taken in my life. Leaked? I repeated, my voice a low growl. He nodded, shutting the door behind him. Someone dropped screenshots. Names. Transactions. Not everything, but enough to stir the sharks. My family looked like a courtroom full of guilty defendants. Brian shot up from his chair. You leaked it? You said this was private. I didn't leak a damn thing, I snapped. Every drive is off-grid. I've kept copies under triple lock and encryption. Curtis stepped forward. Doesn't matter now. The vultures are circling. Reporters already calling my office. State investigators pinging internal systems. Amber's voice trembled. How much got out? Enough, Curtis said. The housing grant, Kimberly's forged application, and one quote from a recorded call with Brian, something about burying the DUI before it gets loud. Brian's face went red. You said that was sealed. I sealed it, I said coldly. Doesn't mean someone didn't steal it from me. Holly looked up. So who leaked it? Silence. Everyone turned toward each other. Paranoia crept in fast. Tara backed away. No one here would do that, right? But then I realized something. The folders were untouched. Drives were hidden. Only one person had digital access to part of the archive. Only one person had ever helped me scan, upload, and organize the older files before I retired because I trusted him like a second son. Jeffrey, I said. He froze. What? He stammered. No way. I wouldn't dash. You helped me sort the archive 2 years ago. You knew the layout. You knew what mattered. And you needed money. Remember the loans you asked for and I denied? He swallowed. That's not what happened. Curtis stepped closer. Tell me you didn't sell your family for a quick payout, Jeff. Jeffrey looked cornered. Panicked. Sweating. Listen, he whispered. I didn't think it would go public. The guy promised he just wanted leverage, not exposure. What guy? I demanded. Jeffrey crumbled. Some blogger, he muttered. Investigative. Said he had friends in the state press. Said he could use this to correct the record about who really pulled the strings in the DA's office. Curtis cursed. He went to political media. Amber buried her face in her hands. Kimberly sat down like the wind had been knocked out of her. Tell me you didn't give him Monica's name, I said. Jeffrey shook his head. No. I didn't. I swear. Just the low-level stuff. Just the family side. But it was too late. Once truth gets oxygen, it doesn't smolder, it burns. Bethany, one of the reporters I once worked with, texted me within minutes. Is this your leak? Are you going public? Or is someone framing you? I didn't respond. Instead, I looked around the room at the family I'd protected for decades. They weren't panicking because of guilt anymore. They were panicking because the walls were closing in. I gave you all one chance, I said. And now the world is about to give you none. Outside, a car pulled up fast. Curtis looked out the window, then turned pale. That's the state ethics board, he said. They're not here for questions. They're here for blood. The doorbell didn't ring. They didn't need to. When the state ethics board shows up on New Year's Day in unmarked cars, they don't come bearing champagne. They come with subpoenas. Curtis opened the door slowly. 3 agents stood outside, suits crisp, eyes cold, hands ready to either shake yours or slap on cuffs. The lead agent flashed his badge. Douglas Harlan? I stepped forward. That's me. Congratulations on your retirement, he said flatly. We need to speak with you. Immediately. He glanced at my living room and the 7 pale faces sitting there like jurors at the edge of a breakdown. Is this a good time? I nodded. As good as any. They didn't wait for an invitation. 2 agents stepped inside, while the third hovered near the window, scanning the street like backup was 5 seconds away. Curtis tried to speak, but I waved him off. Let them work. The lead agent, Myers, set a thin folder on the dining room table next to the half-empty mimosa glasses and unopened egg casserole. He flipped it open. Inside, printed screenshots. Emails. Case memos. Grant notes. And my name on all of them. You recognize these documents? He asked. I nodded. Of course. I created most of them. He glanced at me. So you admit to manipulating at least 3 municipal cases while employed as district prosecutor? I admit, I said slowly, to shielding my family from consequences. And now I'm exposing it. Myself included. Myers raised an eyebrow. That's not usually how this goes. I'm not usual, I said. And I'm done pretending I don't know the cost of my own mercy. Kimberly stood up suddenly. He saved us. All of us. We didn't ask Dash. You didn't refuse, either, I said sharply. Amber began to cry. Jeffrey just looked at the floor. Myers closed the folder. There will be hearings, he said. Internal review. If what you're saying is true, and this leak wasn't yours, you may avoid prosecution, but others may not be so lucky. I understand. He reached into his jacket. Not for cuffs. For a recorder. One question, he said, clicking it on. Are you prepared to testify under oath that every file you've compiled is authentic and unaltered? I didn't blink. I am. Myers clicked off the recorder. Then you'd better get ready, Mr. Harlan. Because the board isn't the only one who wants a piece of you now. By January 2nd, my name was on every screen in the state. Retired prosecutor admits to years of family-focused cover UPS. Harlan scandal, I protected them, but I'm done lying. The case that starts at home, ethics board launches full probe. Some called me a hero. Some called me a fraud. Most didn't know which way to lean. That's exactly where the media thrives, the gray zone between guilt and sacrifice. The morning news looped a clip of me saying, I'm done pretending I don't know the cost of my own mercy. And just like that, the internet branded me, the merciful prosecutor. Somehow both defender and criminal. By noon, my office was swarming with press. Bethany called, furious and exhilarated. You realize you just made yourself a martyr and a whistleblower in 24 hours? I didn't ask for the spotlight, I said. No, but you staged the courtroom in your own damn dining room. She had a point. Meanwhile, the effects were immediate. Brian's dealership lost 2 contracts overnight. Kimberly's son was pulled from the private school pending review of application integrity. Tara's boyfriend? Rearrested. A quiet revisit of his case files ended in a no-bail warrant. And Holly? She finally came back. Late that evening, as the sun dipped behind a gray sky, she knocked on my door with puffy eyes and no pearls. Just a hoodie and a box of papers in her arms. I went through the whole folder, she said. I couldn't sleep. Not after reading it all. I stepped aside. Let her in. She placed the box on the table and sat down, looking smaller than I remembered. I was angry at you, she said. For a long time. For divorcing Mom. For missing birthdays. For always choosing the law. I nodded. I remember. But after reading this, she tapped the box, I realized you were choosing us. Just, from the shadows. I sat across from her. That was the mistake. No, she said. The mistake was us never asking why. We just took. Her voice cracked. Can I help? She asked. Not to fix everything. Just, to stand beside you now. I almost couldn't answer. But before I could speak, my phone buzzed. Curtis. Urgent. I picked up. You watching the news? He asked. No. You should, he said grimly. Someone just leaked Monica Hargrave's name. And she's not going down quietly, Doug. She just called a press conference, and she's dragging you into it. Monica Hargrave stood behind the podium like she was running for sainthood. Perfect suit. Subtle flag pin. One hand resting on a manila folder thick with intention. We are witnessing the weaponization of retirement, she began. A former prosecutor using decades-old favors to shift blame and manufacture scandal. The reporters ate it up. I watched it live with Holly beside me. Curtis sat on the couch, silent, arms crossed, jaw tight. Monica kept going. He claims to have evidence implicating others. But let me be clear, this is an act of deflection. I've worked with Douglas Harlan. I respected him. But now? He is the architect of a smear campaign built to distract from his own ethical failures. She opened the folder. I have documentation. Records of closed-door agreements. Signatures. Backdated memos. Evidence of systemic misconduct, his misconduct. She held up one page for the cameras. Holly leaned forward. Is that? It's the memo from the housing grant case, I said. She's twisting it. Monica smiled that politician's smile, polished, venomous. I will not resign, she said. I will not cower. And I will not be scapegoated by a man whose legacy is built on silence and selective justice. The press erupted in questions. She stepped down. Curtis clicked off the TV. She just declared war. I stood. Good. Because now I don't have to hold back. He raised an eyebrow. You still have her files? Every one. And backups. Holly spoke softly. She's trying to make this about you. If she does that long enough, people will forget the truth. She's counting on it, I said. Which is why we go public. Fully. Controlled. On our terms. Curtis frowned. You sure? This turns you from source to suspect in the public's eye. No safety net. I don't need safety, I said. I need justice. Holly looked at me. Then let me help. We craft a full release. Timeline. Proof. Documents. The whole thing. Curtis nodded slowly. I'll alert Bethany. She'll want to broadcast it herself. But even as we planned our move, I knew Monica wouldn't wait. She was buying time to cover her tracks, threaten the weak, and discredit every page I'd archived. And she wasn't alone. People like Monica never fall by accident. They only fall when someone kicks hard enough. That night, I opened my private server and triggered a timed upload. In 72 hours, every document I'd stored, from Monica's backroom land deals to the names she buried with grants and sealed reports, would go live. Unless I stopped it. A last resort nuke. But before I could close the program, the screen flickered. A warning flashed, unauthorized remote access detected. Someone was already trying to kill the upload. The warning blinked in blood red across my screen. Unauthorized remote access detected. Connection origin, internal. Internal? Holly leaned over my shoulder. What does that mean? Curtis answered before I could. It means someone inside your network is trying to shut down the upload. Someone with your access. I killed the Wi-Fi. Pulled the plug. Cut everything cold. The room fell silent except for my own pulse thudding in my ears. They're in, I muttered. They found the backup server. Holly sat back, stunned. That's not possible. You told me the access codes were stored offline. They were, I said. But someone clearly found a way in, or someone already had them. Curtis paced. You think it's Monica's people? Too soon, I said. They wouldn't risk a traceable hack this early. No, this was someone close. A beat passed. All eyes turned to the one person who hadn't spoken since we powered down. Jeffrey. He looked up slowly. Guilty. Tired. Jeff, I said quietly, what did you do? I didn't leak the backup, he said quickly. I swear. I only shared some low-level files that first time. That's it. Then how did Monica's team find the private server? His eyes dropped. I used your laptop once. 6 months ago. You asked me to update the archive logs, remember? I nodded. So? I copied the external drive to make a backup. For you. In case the physical ones failed. You made an unencrypted copy? He nodded. Where? He hesitated. On my cloud, he admitted. I thought it was safe. Curtis cursed under his breath. You uploaded my entire archive, I said, to a consumer cloud? I deleted it after. Months ago. I didn't know it was still cached. But cached it was. And Monica's people had sniffed it out like wolves on blood. Which means, I said coldly, the countdown upload we set. They know it's coming. Holly spoke softly. They won't just try to stop it digitally. Curtis nodded. They'll come for the hardware. The drives. And you. Jeffrey stood. I can fix this. You already broke it, I snapped. Sit down. But he didn't. He pulled out his phone. I still have something, he said. A conversation I recorded when the blogger called me back. He bragged about who hired him. Said it wasn't just politics, it was personal. He hit play. A voice came through the speaker. Cold. Confident. Tell Harlan if he pushes this, we'll bury him next to his career. He should have stayed in retirement. Curtis grabbed the phone. That's not just Monica, that's someone else. Someone higher. Someone deeper. And just then, the power in the house cut out. Total darkness. Silence. Then a single car engine outside, still running. The lights went black. No flicker. No warning. Just silence thick enough to choke on. Curtis reached for his sidearm. Stay away from the windows, he said. Now. Holly grabbed my arm, pulling me down beside her behind the kitchen island. Jeffrey stumbled but dropped beside us, face pale as bone. Outside, the engine kept running. Low and steady. No doors opened. No footsteps. Just pressure. Curtis moved through the house in shadows, checking locks, peering through corners. I stayed low. In 40 years of taking on cartel leaders, dirty politicians, and career criminals, I'd never had someone cut my power. Never had a car sit outside my house with this much patience. This wasn't a message. It was a warning. And not just for me. For everyone inside. Curtis returned. No movement yet. Either they're waiting, or watching. Holly whispered, they're trying to scare us. It's working, Jeffrey mumbled. But me? I was angry now. Cold and angry. I gave them too much time, I muttered. Curtis looked at me. What do you mean? I mean this stops tonight. I pulled the secondary hard drive from its case, the physical failsafe. Buried beneath my floorboards since the day I retired. Help me get this to Bethany, I said. She can publish it all. Timeline. Proof. Full exposure. Curtis nodded. Holly stood. We'll go with you. No, I said. You stay. Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone. She hesitated. What if they come in? I looked her in the eye. Then tell them one thing, I said. Tell them I'm already ahead of them. Curtis and I slipped out the back door using alleys, sticking to the dark. We made it 3 blocks before the second car appeared. No lights. No plates. Just quiet menace following in the rearview mirror. They're tailing us, Curtis muttered. We need to lose them. We ducked through side streets, cut across the parking lot of a closed pharmacy, and circled into an underground garage. There, in the dim yellow light, Curtis turned to me. Doug, you need to know something. The voice on that recording? I've heard it before. I froze. Where? Curtis swallowed hard. 3 years ago. Back when you pushed the DA's office to audit campaign donations. That voice? It belonged to a fixer tied to multiple political consultants. One of them was Monica's handler. But another. He looked at me darkly. Was your ex-wife. My stomach dropped. Tara. The woman I once protected. And maybe, the one who sold me out from the beginning. I leaned against the concrete pillar of the underground garage, trying to steady my breathing but not from the run. From the name Curtis just said. Tara. My ex-wife. The woman I'd defended in court. The one I'd let walk away with half my assets just to keep Holly out of courtroom trauma. The one who called me cold while quietly funneling her legal bills through my office contacts for 15 years. You're sure? I asked, voice tight. Curtis nodded. That voice on Jeffrey's phone? I only heard it once, but I never forget voices like that. It was after a budget committee meeting. Tara was arguing with someone in the parking garage. Heated. I heard the same tone, the same inflection. And you didn't tell me? You were already 3 years into covering for her messes. I figured you knew. I laughed, but it was hollow. Guess I'm not the only prosecutor who missed evidence in his own house. Curtis laid a hand on my shoulder. We can confront her. I shook my head. Not yet. Not until I know what cards she's holding. We reached Bethany's office 20 minutes later. She was already at her desk, half her screens glowing with chatter, news feeds, and fragments of leaked data. You're late, she said. They're trying to discredit the Hargrave files. Calling them fabricated. I handed her the hard drive. Then give them the uncut version. Bethany plugged it in. As it loaded, her eyes widened. You have everything. Meeting logs. Campaign kickbacks. Ghost accounts. Doug, this isn't just a takedown, this is scorched earth. Good, I said. Let it burn. She looked up at me. Once I hit publish, there's no walking it back. Monica's people will come after you. Your family. Everyone in these documents. I nodded. Then we finish this before they get another move. Just then, her assistant poked in. There's a woman here to see you. Says it's personal. Bethany glanced at me. She said her name's Tara. My heart dropped. Curtis's hand went to his holster, but I held it up. Let her in. Tara stepped in looking nothing like the woman I remembered. No pearls. No lipstick. Just exhaustion, tightly tied hair, and a folder clutched in both hands. I heard what happened, she said. I saw the car outside your house. Which one? I asked. The first, or the one that cut the power? Her eyes flickered. "I came to stop this," she said. "Before you go too far." I folded my arms. "Too far? Or too close?" She hesitated, then opened the folder. Inside, wire transfer slips. Communications. A letterhead with Monica's fixer's name. "I was part of it," she said, voice cracking. "But I didn't know how deep it went." "Why now?" I asked. She looked at me finally, truly looked. "Because they're done using you, Doug. And now they're going to use our daughter. Monica's team already contacted Holly," she said. "They're going to frame her next unless we bury this first." Tara slid the folder across the table. The evidence was undeniable. Her name on bank slips. Her email among the CCs. Her signature next to a coded fund release approved through Monica's pet committee. I stared at it all not with rage, but with something worse. Clarity. "You helped them create the fall guy," I said quietly. "Me?" She didn't deny it. "They promised if I played along, the debt would vanish. My name would stay clean. Holly would never know." "And you believe that?" "I needed to," she whispered. By the time I realized what I was in, it was too late. Curtis stood near the window, keeping watch. Bethany stayed silent, absorbing every word like a witness on the record. Tara looked at me with the same pleading eyes she once used in divorce court. "They're going to use Holly. Frame her as an accomplice. Say she helped with the archive transfer. That the whole leak was her plot." My stomach turned. "Why would they go after her now?" "Because she's clean," Tara said. "Which makes her the perfect villain if they control the narrative." Bethany nodded grimly. "And because she's the only one people like in this circus. If they discredit her, the rest collapses." I clenched my jaw. "We release everything," I said. "Now. Before they get to her." But Tara shook her head. "If you do that, Holly goes down with it. Even if she's innocent. Just guilt by association." Curtis spoke up. "He's right. The internet doesn't wait for court dates. Once it's out there." I looked at Bethany. "Can we control the story?" She hesitated. "Only one way, you confess." "What?" "You go on record," she said. "Full interview. No edits. You own everything. You say you leaked it. That you acted alone. Shield everyone else. Take the storm before it hits her." Tara stepped forward. "Doug, please. She didn't ask for any of this." "No. She didn't. But neither did I. And yet here we were, all of us, caught in the tangled web of protection, lies, and consequences." I looked down at the drive on Bethany's desk. The bomb. The cure. The weapon. I sighed. "Set it up," I said. "Interview goes live tonight." Tara reached for my hand. I pulled away. "You may have started this," I said, "but I'll end it on my terms." Bethany grabbed her gear. "Then let's get you a mic." But as she powered up her camera, Curtis's phone buzzed. He checked the screen. And his face went white. "Doug. I just got word. Holly's gone. They picked her up 20 minutes ago. No warrant. No call. Just vanished." Curtis's words hit like a rifle crack. "Gone? What do you mean gone?" I snapped. "She was picked up outside her apartment," he said, phone still clutched in his hand. "Unmarked vehicle. No badge flash. No call to dispatch." Tara gasped. "She doesn't even know what she's involved in." "She's involved," I said, grabbing my coat. "Because they dragged her into it." Bethany closed her laptop. "We have cameras in that district. I can pull traffic footage." Curtis was already dialing. "I'll reach out to internal contacts. Somebody saw something." We moved like clockwork, old instincts kicking in. Curtis drove, Bethany hacked, Tara sat silent in the back seat, and me? I boiled. They didn't want the data. Not just that. They wanted control. The kind you get when you kidnap a daughter and hold her as leverage. The kind that breaks men like me into silence. But they forgot what kind of man I used to be. Bethany's laptop dinged. Got something, she said. Holly's building, 7:42 p.m. Black SUV. No plates. Windows tinted. She gets in, doesn't come out. Where'd they go? I asked. East, she said. And fast. Curtis turned the wheel hard. My mind raced with possibilities. Safe houses. Underground lockups. Political black sites built under temporary jurisdiction. Tara leaned forward. Doug, if they hurt her dash. They won't, I said. Not yet. They want to use her. Force my silence. Bethany looked at me. Are you still doing the interview? I didn't blink. I'll speak to the world, I said. But first. We find my daughter. And we bring hell with us. We scanned every second of footage from the last known intersection. Bethany traced the SUV eastbound, cutting through traffic with precision. No hesitation. No wrong turns. Whoever took Holly knew the city better than I did. Curtis radioed in a favor a retired patrol sergeant who still owed him for a buried scandal. The guy pulled surveillance from 2 nearby gas stations. Bingo! East Side Industrial Zone, Curtis muttered, squinting at the frame. They turned off road cameras and disappeared here. The warehouses. Of course. Half those buildings were city-owned shells, condemned on paper, used in private for everything from hush-money meetings to unsanctioned holding cells. Tara sat up. I know that area. Monica used to take meetings there before her state appointment. Always private donors. Always off the grid. Bethany was already typing. One of the addresses is still tied to a ghost company, the same shell that funded her housing grant scam. Then that's where she is, I said. Curtis loaded his pistol. We go in quiet. If they see us coming, we lose her. I nodded. No press. No posturing. Just extraction. Bethany stayed back, coordinating with 2 friendly reporters who could delay the story drop by 12 hours. Curtis and I rode in silence. Just 2 old prosecutors, heading into the dark for one last trial. We parked a block away. Footsteps soft. Guns holstered but ready. As we approached the side of the building, I saw it, faint light through a boarded window. And inside? A silhouette. Someone pacing. Curtis raised a finger. 2. Maybe 3 inside. I peered closer. And that's when I saw her, Holly, tied to a chair, and Tara's name etched on the folder in the captor's hand. Curtis and I crouched low against the rusted steel siding. The warehouse buzzed with electricity, real and metaphorical. Inside, Holly sat tied to a chair. Pale. Awake. Angry. I scanned the room again. 3 men. 1 watching the door. 1 pacing with a gun. 1 standing near Holly, folder in hand. The name on it? Tara Harlan. I felt the heat rise in my chest. Curtis leaned in. If we breach now, we can take the 2 near the front. I'll cover the guy with the folder. I nodded. Go on my count, he whispered. 3, 2 dash. The door behind us creaked. We spun only to see Tara. Alone. Unarmed. Don't shoot, she whispered. I came to fix this. Curtis didn't lower his weapon. Your name's all over this. You'd better talk fast. They don't know I'm here, she said. They think I backed out. But I have the codes. I can get you inside through the rear service door. I stared at her. You lied to them too? I always did, she said. That was the job. But I never thought they'd go after Holly. Curtis hesitated. I made the call. Show us. She led us around to the rear. The lock was electronic shielded. She typed in a 6-digit code. The green light clicked. Curtis raised his sidearm. We moved fast. Burst in through the rear, cutting through crates and shadows. Curtis fired the first shot into the air. The men inside scrambled, surprised. I rushed straight to Holly. She looked up, wild-eyed. Dad? I'm here, I said, cutting the ropes. Gunfire popped behind me, 2 men down, Curtis holding position like a ghost. The third man dropped the folder and ran. Tara chased after him. We heard shouting, then a single, echoing slap. She returned a moment later, face red, hair loose, folder in hand. It's all here, she said breathlessly. The real signatures. The payment logs. Monica's chain of command. I held the folder like it was sacred. This ends tonight. We brought Holly out, shaken but unhurt. Police met us halfway, thanks to Bethany's call. She'd held the release, but sent a trace once we'd gone dark. The men in the warehouse? Detained. The data? Untouched. And Monica? She was still on TV, spinning a tale of coincidence and character assassination. But now I had what she didn't. Proof. And a platform. Back at Bethany's office, as I prepared to go live, her assistant rushed in. You need to see this, she said. Monica just posted a pre-recorded message, and she names you as the mastermind behind the entire corruption network. Monica's pre-recorded video was polished. Choreographed. She sat in a high-back chair, American flag behind her, voice calm as a school principal. Douglas Harlan, she said, used his position for decades to bury his family's crimes, enrich his own allies, and manipulate the justice system from the inside. I almost laughed. She used my words, only twisted. Now that he's lost his grip on power, she continued, he's turned to character assassination. But the truth? The truth is that I tried to stop him. Curtis turned off the screen. She's betting everything on you backing down. Bethany handed me the microphone. Which is why you don't. I stood in front of her camera, no flag, no suit, no filters. Just me. The man they tried to erase. My name is Douglas Harlan, I said. I was a prosecutor for 40 years. And for most of that time, I believed in quiet justice. In protecting people behind the scenes. I looked into the lens. I protected the wrong people. Then I laid it all out. The bribes. The sealed cases. The favors I pulled for family. The names Monica had buried. The evidence in my hands, including the folder from the warehouse, now verified, time-stamped, and uploaded live. I didn't yell. I didn't weep. I just told the truth. When I finished, Bethany hit publish. And the world changed. Within the hour, Monica's team went dark. Her staff issued no comment responses. The ethics board launched an emergency review. A dozen minor officials resigned before midnight. And Holly? She was cleared. Completely. The footage of her kidnapping leaked too, courtesy of a sympathetic officer from Curtis's network. The court of public opinion shifted. Suddenly, I wasn't the villain. I was the man who confessed to save others. They called me brave. Foolish. Reckless. But what mattered most? They listened. 3 days later, Monica Hargrave was indicted. Wire fraud. Conspiracy. Obstruction. And me? I got a call from the governor's office. Not to punish me. To thank me. For cleaning out what they never had the courage to face. On January 10th, I sat alone in my living room. No cameras. No speeches. Just Holly beside me. She poured 2 glasses of bourbon. To the truth, she said. I raised mine. To the weight of it, I answered. If you like this story, please like this video. Subscribe. to the channel and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the right.